Hey friends, howdy! Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf. What Daf are we studying today? Daf Yud, Daf 10 of Masechta Moed Katan. Friends, Daf 10 is a funny little Daf. Very technical stuff. I mean, about sewing different kinds of stitches and mills and all sorts of random things, friends. I got a lot of translations, a lot of words I had to translate, that kind of a page. So friends, let's jump in. We're on Daf Yud Amud Aleph, all the way at the top of the page, on the first line of the page. Hamoed Tofek Kedarko, a regular fellow, right? Because we made a chilek the other day between a fellow and a fella. Fellow is a boy and fella is a girl. So, well, I guess it can go either way in this case. I'm a hedged when it comes to sewing. When it comes to sewing, it's not my expertise. Give me a computer to program, I could maybe figure something out. But sewing, on the other hand, I'm going to have to watch a YouTube video, which I have done in the past. And yeah, one time there was a button on my coat and I sewed it. I watched a YouTube video and then applied what I learned in a Medrashia Ikra La Maisa. And then now recently though, a button on my pants became loose, but I haven't done anything about that other than just left it on the side. So I hedge it. A fellow who's not such a mumche, is not such an expert sewer, like me. Tofer Kedarko, so I can sew regularly. I mean, my regularly might be not so regular. Anyways, friends, we have a daf to learn, and I'm just messing around. Hey chidami hedgit. How do we define a hedgit? Okay, Sruli, that's me. Amr the Rabbi Yana, they say the Besmedrash for Rabbi Yana, kol she'enu yochel lahotzi melo machat bevas achas. If you can't like take a whole bunch of stitches at once, you do a whole bunch of stitches and pull them all through at once. I probably can't do that. I don't even know if I can do it because I've never even tried. So mistama not. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina Amar says, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, kol she'enu yochel lachaven imra bechefes chaluko. Those are three words that I had to define. So let's see. Anybody who's unable to make even a hem at the bottom of a tunic. Moving on. Va'uman machliv. Somebody who's like an expert sewer. So he can be machliv. What does that mean? My machliv. What's machliv? So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mafsiya. Rabbi Yochanan says that you make like large stitches. Alright. Large gaps in the stitches, I guess. Rabbi Bar Shmuel Amar Shinei Kalbasa. Rabbi Bar Shmuel says that machliv is like from the word kelev, a dog, a hunt. So it's like the teeth of a hunt that I guess spread out up and down, this way, that way. All right, what do you want me to tell you? Misagin es hamitos. You can what do we say? Interlace beds, right? I guess their beds were interlaced. Our beds are a little different. We have like mattresses on stuff. Box spring? What the heck is a box spring? I feel like that's the kind of thing you talk about in the context of a bed. They would have I guess reeds that they would like do this way and that way and kind of cross them and weave them in and out and put their mattress on that, I guess. So my misagin my matrin, right? We had said in the Mishnah that you can interlace the beds. You can be misargin the beds. Rabbi Yossi says that no, you can't be misargin, but you can be mematrin. So what's misargin? What's mematrin? So my misargin and my mematrin. Kios Rivdimi Omar. So when Rivdimi came from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, no, the opposite. When Rivdimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Omar, he said, Plige bar Rebchia bar Abba v'Asi, that it's a machlokes between Rebchia bar Abba and Reb Asi. And both Rebchia bar Abba and Reb Asi, they were saying their opinions based on Chizkiah and Reb Yochanan. Okay, no, so what do they say? Charom misagin shisi ve'ariv. So one opinion is that misargin is crisscrossed, like shisi ve'ariv, like a loom. You go long and I don't know. We've done this before, like crisscrossing. I don't know. the shasi, the warp and the woof, the warp and the weft. I don't know. You have reeds going one way and then other like reeds like, going looping in between. What do you want me to tell you? So I'm just going to say shasi v'ariv. I don't know how to explain it any better. Shasi v'ariv, the warp and the weft. I don't know. Okay. Umematrin shasi below ariv. And mematrin is only the warp without the weft. Okay. V'charam misargin shasi below ariv. And the other opinion is that misargin is actually the warp without the weft. Umematrin shema yirof mematro. And to tighten means that if just stam, you don't warp it, you don't weft it. But if it was loose, if these reeds were loose, so you could tighten them. All right, friends. Ini, is this really true? That this is the machlokas v'atani of tachlifa bashol. But one second, of tachlifa bashol taught v'shavin she'ein mafshilin chavalim lichatchila. Now both the Tanakama and Reb Yossi agree that you can't you can't twist rope lichatchila, that you wouldn't be allowed to twist rope on chol hamoed. Okay, so b'shalom man da'amar misargin shasi v'ariv u'mematrin shasi below ariv. So I understand, according to the opinion, that misargin is both the warp and the weft, and mematrin is just the warp without the weft. So I need the Katani rav tachlifu b'ashol v'shavin shem mafshilin chavalim lichatchila. That is why Rav Tachlifu b'ashol then has to teach that even though the Tanakama says that you'd be allowed to do the warp and the weft, nonetheless everyone agrees that you wouldn't be allowed to twist these ropes on chol hamoed. Ela leman da'amar misargin shasi below ariv mematrin shemayrof or mematro. But according to the opinion that misargin is the warp without the weft, and mematrin is if the reeds were getting loose, you could tighten them. Well then, hashta shasi v'ariv amatlo. If we're already saying that, according to this view, even the Tanakama says you would not be allowed to do the warp and the weft. So then chavalim lechatchila mibaya. Then certainly, then you're not going to be able to twist the ropes. To twist the ropes on Yom Tov. That would be an even bigger chiddush. So kasha. Okay, it's a question. Because, it's a question on the opinion who says that, according to Tanakama, you can only do the warp without the weft. Then what's the chiddush of what was his name? Rav Tachlifu b'ashol, that you're not allowed to twist these ropes. Obviously you're not allowed to twist the ropes. You can't even do the warp and the weft. Alright, what do you want me to tell you? Rav Nachman Bayitzchak Rav Chia Ba'oven says, Rav Nachman Bayitzchak to Rav Chia Ba'oven, Mi'ikal Aman, Da'amar Misargin, Shasi B'lo Ariv. Is there really an opinion that Misargin is only the warp without the weft? V'otnan, we learn in the Mishnah, Rav Meir Omer Uah, says Rav Meir, Ha Mita Misha Yisug Ba Shlosha Ba'atim, that a mita, a bed, is considered a vessel that can be mekabel tuma. Once you are yisrog, right, which is like misargin, shlosha batim, 3 batim, which are like basically shasiva arib. Right, you have like the warp, and then you pass the weft through 3 times. So if you do that, so then it's already considered a kli. So then now, so what do we see? So we see that memele misha yisrog, that misargin is the warp and the weft. So also Ravin. So rather, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Amr, he said, "Misargin kuliyam lepligi de shasiva arib." No. When it comes to misargin, both Tanakama and Rav Yossi agree that it's the warp and the weft. The question is, when it comes to mematrin, how do we define mematrin? My savar mematrin shasi below arib, my savar shemai rafa mematro. The Tanakama says that mematrin is, no, I'm sorry, it's not the Tanakama, and this is the machlokes between Reb Chia Ba'aba and Reb Asi in terms of what misargin and mematrin are. So we're saying that everyone agrees that misargin is the warp and the weft. The machlokes is, what does it mean mematrin, right? That Rabbi Yossi says that all you're allowed to do is mematrin. So one opinion is that what mematrin is shemayu, shasi b'lo ariv, means the warp without the weft. And the other opinion is that what mematrin is that if it was weak, you could, if it was coming loose, you could tighten it. Meisvek, we have a kasha. Misargin is hamita vein tzarich lomar shemematrin We have a Bais that says you're allowed to be Mesargin, and we said that Mesargin, everyone agrees, is Shasi V'Arib. And certainly, you could be Mematrin. Okay? Divrei Meir, that's Rav Meir's opinion. Rav Yossi, Omer says, Rav Yossi, Mematrin, Avalo Mesargin. That you're allowed to, Rav Yossi says, you're only allowed to be Mematrin, you're not allowed to be Mesargin. V'yeshom ein Mematrin kolik, and then there's an even more stringent opinion, which is that you can't even be Mematrin either. So now, B'shtom l'man da'omer, Mematrin shasib lo'arib. So I understand, according to the opinion, that what's Mematrin? Mematrin is shasib lo'arib. So basically, Rav Meir is saying that you're allowed to do shasi and arib. Rav Yossi is saying, no, you can only do the shasi without the arib. And Hanu dasu yeshom lifluge. And then the Yeshomim is saying that no, you can't even do the shasi without the arib. Even that's not allowed. But according to the opinion that mimatrin is that if it was coming loose, you could tighten it. The Yeshomim mimatro nami lo. So then, what would the Yeshomim be saying, that you're not even allowed to be mimatro? Right, kilu. If we're saying that Misargin is Shasi and Arif, the warp and the weft, and Rabbi Yehuda says you're even allowed, Rabbi Meir says you're even allowed to do the warp and the weft. Rabbi Yossi is saying you're not allowed to do that, but you are allowed to be Mamatrin. And we're saying Mamatrin is that if the reeds or whatever got loose, you could tighten them. And then the Yeshomim was saying, no, you can't even do that. Really? Why? You can't even tighten them if they became loose. So exactly, came the Efshel Mamalia. Yes, the Yeshom would say that you're even not allowed to tighten these reeds of the bed if they became loose, because why do you need to tighten them? You could just fill out, you can just put pillows and cushions on the ground and support the mattress that way. So so that's why they would say you even can't be mamatrin, even if mamatrin is just tightening up loose reeds or whatever. Alright, friends, what do you want me to tell you? It says the Mishnah, Mamidin Toner v'chirayim v'rechaim b'moed. You're allowed to put in place an oven and a stove and a mill on the chol hamoed. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and mechabshin es rechaim batchila. Rabbi Yehuda says that you're not allowed to be mechabshin, the mill. You can't milchatchila be mechabshin a rechaim, a mill. In fact, the Gemara, my mechabshin, what does it mean to be mechabshin? Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to be mechabshin a mill. What does that mean? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, minaker rechaya. So Rabbi Yehuda says what it means is to put grooves into put notches into the mill. Right? That if you have a mill and you want it to be able to grind well, so you put grooves into the mill so that the flour, the kernels, whatever, get stuck in there, and then you grind them. Rabbi Chiel Amar Bas Eina, Rabbi Chiel says that it means the hole in the middle of the mill, that the ground wheat, the flour, would go into that hole. Okay? And that's what mechabshin is. Okay? Meisve. Alright, we have a kasha. Mamidin toner v'chirayim b'moed. You're allowed to set up a oven and a stove on chol hamoed. Ulevad shelo yigmor melachton divrei Beliezer, as long as you don't finish their melacha. Okay, I guess if you have to you're still constructing them, I guess as long as you don't finish making them. Alright? V'cham says the chacham af yigmor, you can even complete them. Alright. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda Mishmo, in his name, Mamidin es achadasha umchabshin es aishana, that you're allowed to put in place a new oven, and you're allowed to be mechabshin an old oven. That those who say ein mechabshin kolik, you're not allowed to do this mechabshin thing at all. So the question is, what's mechabshin, right? So Rabbi Yehuda is saying mechabshin is aishana, that you're allowed to be mechabshin an old oven. So we had two explanations for what mechabshin can be. One was to put grooves into the mill. The other is to put a hole in the mill that the flour can go into. So mechabshin minaker rechaya. So I understand, according to the opinion, that mechabshin is to put grooves into the mill. So I understand what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that you're allowed to put grooves into an old mill that got smooth, that the millstones got smooth, and now they're not doing a good job grinding. So you could put grooves into it on chol hamoed. But if you say that mechabshin is to like put a hole in the millstone so that the flour can go into it, why would you have to put a hole into an old millstone? Obviously, it's had a hole for a very long time because you can't grind flour without the hole for the flour to go into. So why would you have to be mechabshin yeshana? Why would you have to do this mechabshin thing for an old millstone if it obviously already has a hole in it? So it could go into kabayla arvuche tfei purta, that you need to make it a little bit bigger. That's what it's talking about. Meaning you can say that mechabshin means to put a hole in it, and then what does it mean that you're putting a hole into an old one? Doesn't it already have a hole for a long time already? So it means that you need to make it bigger. Alright, fine. Rav Huna heard that there was a certain fellow who was putting grooves into his mill on chol hamoed. Omar. So Rav Huna says, Man hai ischil gufe, that this fellow who is putting grooves into his mill on chol hamoed, his body should become hollow. I guess it doesn't sound like a good thing. Because he's being mechalal, he's transgressing, desecrating chol hamoed. Because Rav Huna held like the Yesh Omrim, who says, right, the final, right, we said Rabbi Yehuda says that you're allowed to be mechabshin the yishana, but Yesh Omrim, those who say that you're not allowed to be mechabish kolikir. And if we're saying that mechabshin is putting grooves into the mill, Rav Huna saw a fellow putting grooves in the mill on chol hamoed, and he says not a good thing to do, because Rav Huna holds like the Yesh Omrim, like the opinion that you cannot be mechabshin on chol hamoed. All right, what am I going to tell you? The Rav Chama taught Nokrin Rechaim b'Moed, that you're allowed to put these grooves in the mill on chol hamoed. Mishum Reb Meir Omar, and he said in the name of Reb Meir, Afilu susher ochiv olav v'chomesh ochiv olav. If you have a horse that you ride on, or a donkey that you ride on, mutalitol tziponayim b'chulos hamoed, you can cut the nails, the toenails of your horse or your donkey that you ride on, so that they'll be able to transport you. However, the donkey for the mill, right? If you have a donkey that assists you in milling your grain, so you would not be allowed to cut the nails of that donkey, because you'd only be allowed to prepare enough flour for use on the festival, and in order to make that the amount of flour that you would be that would be practical for you to use on the festival, you would not need to cut the nails of the donkey in order to be able to produce that amount of flour. It's not that much flour. All right. Rav Yehuda shar le mishkol tufrei lechamra direchaya. Rav Yehuda permitted to trim the hooves of a mill donkey, as well as to put in place a mill, to build a mill, and to build the frame for a mill, and to build a barn. Okay, you just said you're allowed to build a barn on chol hamoed. All right. Rav Ashar l'sruke susaya lemivnei akarpita. Rava allowed you to comb your horse. All right. Ulemivne akarpita, and to build a manger. Friends, I don't know what a manger is. Ulemivne itztaba, and to build a stone bench. I know what a stone bench is. It's a bench made out of stone. Rava shar lemishkol dama leveimu b'chula d'ma'ada. Rava permitted people to bloodlet their animals on chol hamoed. Amalei Abayi tani dimsayei elach. And Abayi says to Rava, there's taka a brisa that supports you. Mekizin dam levehema, we can bloodlet an animal. Ve'in monin refuah levehema b'chulos hamoed, and we do not hold back, prevent any type of medicine from an animal on chol hamoed. Rav Ashar le chaschuse kirme. Rava permitted the people to press their clothes on chol hamoed. My time, how come Maaseh Hedgetu? Because it's a simple thing. Amar Yitzchak bar Ami, Amar Chisda, kiture bire osir. So says Rav Yitzchak bar Ami in the name of Chisda that pleating your sleeves is not allowed in chol hamoed. My time, Maaseh umanu, because it's like a professional kind of thing. Okay. Rava says, Rava man de misakil ara, that if you have a fellow who is removing obstacles from his land, adaita devedari shari. So if he's doing it for the threshing floor, with the intention of the threshing floor, that's okay. Adaita de ara, but if you're doing it with the intention of improving the land, so also that's not allowed. Hechidami. So what exactly are we talking about? So mulya b'mulya, unza b'nza. So a mound, if you take like dirt from a mound and put it on top of another mound, or dirt from a hole and put it in another hole, so adaita devedari shakol. So that means that you're sort of cleaning things up and getting things out of the way with the intention of the threshing floor. Mulya ushda, shakol mulya ushda binsa. But if you take some a mound and throw it into a hole, adaita da'ara, well then you're doing it to improve the land. Rava says, Rava, Haiman dezachi zichaya. If you have a fellow who is clearing debris, adaita detzive shari. If you're doing it with the intention of the wood, so then that's okay. Adaita da'ara also. If you're doing it with the intention of the ground, so then it is not okay. Echidami. So how do you know? How can you tell if you're doing it for the wood or for the ground? Shakal ravave v'shavik zutre adaita detzive. Well, if you're taking the big pieces of wood and you're leaving the smaller pieces of wood, so it's because you're looking for wood. You're interested in the wood. But if you take all the wood, the big wood, the small wood, all of it, so then it's because you're trying to improve the land. So if a person like opened up water so that water will flood his field, so adaita the kavre shari, if you do it with the intention of getting fish, so then that's okay. That's the ira also, but if you're flooding the land so that, to improve the land, so then it's not okay. Hey chidami, how do you know if you're doing it for the fish or for the land? If you open up like two openings to where the water was being, contained, and you one opening above and one opening below, adaita the kavre pasa. Okay, fine, the kavre. So if you do it, if you open up the water in that manner, so then it's because by doing it in that way, that opening the top opening and the bottom opening, so then it traps the fish or something. So that means that memela is for fish, and you enjoy the fish. But if you only opened up one of the openings, so then I guess that means that it's going to benefit the land without getting you fish. All right. Rava says, Rava, so if you have a fellow who removed branches from a palm tree, adaita the chevasa shari, if you remove the branches with the intention of animals, then it's okay. Adaita the dikla aser, if you did it with the intention of improving the palm tree, then it's not okay. Hechidami, how do you know if it's for the palm tree or for the animals? Shakal kule michad gisa, adaita the chevasa. If you took all the branches from one side and left the other side, then it's because you just needed the branches for your animals and you weren't paying attention to the actual tree. But if you take branches, symmetrically from both sides of the tree, so then you're doing it with the intention of improving the tree, and that is not okay. Rava says, Rava, so if you have these unripe dates, migzirinu shari, so you're allowed to cut them in half. Maitzinu also, be pressing them is not okay. Rav Papa Amar came in the Mislaik Fakmatio Avidami Vishari. Rav Papa disagrees and says, no, when it comes to these dates, if you don't squeeze them and apply pressure to them, so then they're going to get bugs. So therefore it's like a davar avid, it's like a prakmatio avid, something that's going to get ruined if you don't, press it, and because it's going to get bugs. So therefore Rav Papa says it would be allowed to press these dates. Alright. Rava says, Rava, Prakmatio Kolshu Osir. Says Rava that doing any kind of merchandising on chol hamoed is not allowed. I guess buying merchandise. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Amr Rabbi Yossi bar Avin, uv'dar Avin mutter. It says Rabbi Yossi bar Avin that if it's something that you have an opportunity to purchase it today, so then it would be permitted. Ravina avalei au iska tav mizdabin b'shisa alfei. Ravina had a certain geschäft, at a certain business, that he was able to sell something on chol hamoed for 6,000 zuz. But he said, look, it's chol hamoed, I don't want to sell it because it's chol hamoed. And he waited till after chol hamoed, and guess what? It doubled in price, and he made a very handsome profit. Profit, yeah. But F-I-T, not P-H-E-T. Okay. Ravina Ava Mosik Zuze Beve Akwa de Shanvasa. So Ravina he had some money that he was owed in some place called, I don't know, Shanvasa, and it had, it was chol hamoed, and there was an opportunity right now that they had the money, they were willing to pay him. So the comment of Ashi Amalei Ma'lemezela Idna Alayu. So Ravina says no. So he went to Rav Ashi and he says, "Can I go? It's chol hamoed. I don't want to be doing business on chol hamoed, but I have an opportunity. I have a window right now where they have money there and they're willing to pay me. What do I do? Do I go?" Amalei came there. Idnahu demishkachas lu b'mechrine lo mishkachas lu. Since you have an opportunity right now to retrieve your money from them, and you might not have that opportunity again. So so it's like a davar avid. It's like something that is going to get ruined. You're going to miss your opportunity to reclaim the money, and therefore, yes, you're allowed to go. We also have a similar halacha when it comes to purchasing things from the pagans. Holchin lirid shel akum, you're allowed to go to the pagan market. V'lochim behema avodim u'shvachos, and you can purchase from them animals, servants, maidservants, batum sados uchramim, houses, fields, vineyards. V'chosev u'mayla ba'akol shaloim mipnei shu kamatzim liyodan, and you can even sort of deal with the contracts and stuff in their non-Jewish courts, because it's the only way to sort of properly salvage it from, right, to be able to get it from these people is to go through their court system, and therefore it becomes like a davar avid. It becomes like something that, you have a window right now to purchase this thing from this pagan person, but the thing is, in order to purchase it, you're gonna have to go to their courts and stuff. It's okay in the context of this sort of window of opportunity that you have right now. Rav Shor Lechia Bar Ashi Lemigdal Ohare B'chul Demoada. Rav permitted Chia Bar Ashi to put together fish traps on chol hamoed. My time Hakam my say hedge it too, because doesn't take such skill to create a fish trap. All right. Aval Islay also, but making nets for birds would not be allowed. My time my say umanu, because that requires expert sort of experience. Rav Yehuda Shara the Ami Tanura Lemigdal Tanuri. So if Yehuda permitted Ami the oven guy to make ovens on chol hamoed, ule Rava Bar Izbei Lemigdal Maholta, and Rava Bar Izbei to make sieves on chol hamoed. Ini, is this really true? Tani Rav Bar Shmuel v'shavin she'ein golden tanan l'chatchila. But I thought everybody agrees that you're not allowed to make an oven, to properly make an oven on Yom Tiv, on chol hamoed. Lokasha can be mosacham, can be mosacham. We say, well, it depends. If it's the summer where the oven can dry out and it'll already be usable on chol hamoed, so then it is permissible. However, if it's the winter where it's wetter, it's colder, and there's no guarantee that the oven will be ready to go by the end of chol hamoed, so then you are not allowed to make that oven on chol hamoed in the winter. Alright, what am I going to tell you? Friends, that was the Yud of Masechta Moed Katan. Yeah, it was kind of like a random daf, I'd say. We started out talking about different kinds of stitches that non-professionals can do, that professionals can do. We talked about how exactly you can put together a bed on chol hamoed. Tanakama says misargin. Yossi says mimatrin. Doesn't mean shesiva ariv. Doesn't mean should see below Arev. So we had different opinions about what these things mean. Then we got to a new Mishnah where we talked about putting together ovens and millstones, and how are you allowed to put notches into millstones or to make the holes bigger in the millstones. All right, Rava permitted people to do like all sorts of things on chol hamoed, like opening up bodies of water and bloodletting for animals, a whole bunch of random things that Rava permitted people to do on chol hamoed. That was Daf Yud of Masechta Moed Katan. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.